Welcome to the Configure Price Quote podcast. My name is Frank Sohn and I'm the founder of No CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. My guest today is Bill Fox, CEO of Experlogix. Bill is also a managing partner at Birmingham Capital, which made a majority investment in Experlogix in 2019. And Bill lives in Birmingham, Alabama, and has an MBA from Harvard. Experlogix offers a CPQ Solution document generation and document automation products and is focused on Microsoft Dynamics customers and also offers integrations for Salesforce and NetSuite customers. The company is based in Utah and has around 200 employees. Welcome to the CPQ podcast, Bill.
Thanks for having me, Frank. Look forward to talking with you.
I'm very excited to have you. And let's maybe start by telling our listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you did before you joined Experlogix, I think in 2020.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so I've been in the enterprise B2B software space for the past 12 years. First, I was the CFO of an electronic medical record software company. And then I was the CEO of a voice over IP phone and internet company. And those were both owned by the same family that is Birmingham Capital. You mentioned I'm also a partner at Birmingham Capital. So I've been working with that family for the past 12 years too. And then we started Birmingham Capital to invest in smaller software companies and help grow them. And we made the investment in Experlogix. And then I jumped over to Experlogix in February of 2020 full-time as CEO.
Excellent. And I think that's a different kind of business. So what's for you the most exciting part of being in this CPQ space at this time?
Yeah, the CPQ space is really great. We'd actually implemented CPQ at the company I was running previous, kind of right at the end of my tenure there. But so I got to see the power of it from the customer side and it's just really neat, not something I had known a lot about beforehand. So when the opportunity came up to invest in Experlogix, we were super excited about the space in general. The neatest thing for me now doing this 2.5 years is, I think if you look back at Experlogix 5 to 7 years ago, we would have been considered mostly a product configurator. That was our reputation in the market. I think that's probably true for the whole CPQ space to some extent. It was originally we were product configurators. But that has changed so dramatically in the last 5 years. And we just see all these new use cases coming in that are really, really neat, that are outside of manufacturing and just not kind of the typical product configuration. We still obviously do a lot of that. But if you look at us today, our top 10 customers, 7 of them are not manufacturing companies. And it's just neat seeing that continue to expand. I think that's only going to get bigger and bigger over the next few years as well.
Excellent. And I think it's always interesting to look back. You mentioned you've been with Experlogix now for 2.5 years. If you look back and think what you would have liked to know before you started, so what you've learned in the last 2.5 years, what would that be?
Yeah, I think the thing I would have liked to know the most when I started, which was February of 2020, it was a very interesting time to start, is that things weren't really going to slow down a lot. You know, we saw a very slow slowdown in 2020 right after COVID, maybe 45 days or 60 days, but that disappeared very quickly and kind of came back up and everything has just continued to go. So, looking back on it, I wish we maybe had better foresight that things were going to continue to grow at the pace that they have and kind of pushed. And we're obviously continuing to push a lot now, but I think we're obviously a really great company. We have a really good position in the market, but I still think there's a lot of people out there who don't know us for our size and scale. And so looking back on it, I wish I pushed a little bit harder on that earlier and we made some more investments to get our name out there quicker.
Now, one question I have to ask, since you mentioned that you were in other businesses before, where do you go to learn more about CPQ besides talking to your own team and to your customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've listened to your podcast a few times. I think it's very, very helpful. So that's really great. It is our customers and our partners are obviously a huge component of that too. They see a lot of different aspects of CPQ and other things out there. So we get a lot of great feedback from them. We have great relationships with a really big partner community. It's really where most of our deals come from today. And then but as you mentioned, it's our own team is the main place I go. We've been doing this for 20 years now. We have a lot of people on the team who have 15, 20 years of experience in this space. And so if I need a answer or someone to teach me something, I generally reach out to them and they'll teach me about it.
Excellent. I think that's the best situation. Anyway, let me ask one question I ask every guest for the last at least 2.5 years is, what do you like to do when you don't work?
Yeah, it's great. I am not the most interesting person in the world, but my favorite thing to do is snowboard. I think a perfect day for me would be a good powder day in a back bowl. I absolutely love that. But obviously I live in Alabama, so that's a travel situation. I really do that once or twice a year at most. But it is definitely my favorite thing to do. The things I do more often is I cycle or ride a bike. So Tuesday, Thursday mornings, I meet a group at 5:30 a.m. and we do a pretty good bike ride. It's really an awesome way to start the day. And so I really like that. Spend a lot of time on that. And then I have 3 kids. We have 2 9-year-olds and a 6-year-old. And it's really the perfect ages, I think. We're just in such a good window. So I spend a ton of time with them. I love coaching their sports teams. So I did 6-year-old boys soccer in the fall, and then 9-year-old girls basketball, and then 9-year-old boys lacrosse in the spring. And so I try to do one kids team every season, at least as an assistant coach, I really think that's a ton of fun.
Wow, that's very cool. Quite a time commitment there. But anyway, it's a good way also to build a relationship with the kids, right? So, but let me ask one question. So, especially with the snowboarding, where are you going to snowboard?
We really go all over the place. So we have offices now in Salt Lake City and Montreal. So that is certainly helpful. We do go to Utah and Park City area quite a bit. We'll also go into Colorado, and this year we actually booked a trip to Montana for the first time. So we like trying different places all over the Rocky Mountains.
Excellent. So that's what I was hoping for, that you would go to Colorado. So yeah. Very good. One last question concerning the cycling. I guess you're using a regular bike, right? Not an e-bike when you go on your trips.
That's correct. I haven't quite got to the e-bike yet. I think maybe that's somewhere in the future, but that's the distant future still. So.
Excellent. So, and when you go on these bike rides, how long are they typically? So you're going for a couple of hours, or you go for miles, or what are you going for?
Yeah, the Tuesday, Thursday ride at 5:30, we do a little over 20 miles. It's about an hour and 15-minute ride. It gets you back in time to get everything ready for the kids to go to school and get ready for work. So that's a relatively quick one. And then sometimes the same group will do Saturday, Sunday rides, maybe in the 40 to 60 mile range, the 3 to 4 hour range.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's very interesting. So you're very much into sports. Now let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about Experlogix, right? Experlogix has been around for quite a long time. Tell us a little bit more about the products and services that you offer now.
Yeah, so absolutely. We've been around about 20 years. So our CPQ product is Experlogix CPQ. I think we're on version 9. It's evolved a ton over the last 20 years. But we integrate with Dynamics, Salesforce, and NetSuite, as you mentioned in the top of the podcast. And that's our core CPQ product that is kind of what I think most listeners here are interested in. We also offer a document generation automation product, which came through a merger with a company called Experdoc. And this does 2 different things for us. One is we call it a very enhanced queue in the CPQ. So if you think of creating a quote, obviously that becomes a document a lot. So that document generation tool can create an awesome looking quote. And then we have an automation workflow tool in there too, where you can set up all the automated flows from that document, whether it's approvals or emails to customers and things like that. So that's an enhanced queue. We also sell that solution on a standalone basis as a document generation and automation customers do.
Excellent. And what industries do you focus on?
We're pretty broad on industries. As I mentioned up the top, our history and our start was certainly on the manufacturing side, although that's changed a lot, as I mentioned. We are very broad on industries. So it's a lot of manufacturing. It's a lot of software companies. It's a lot of services companies, consulting companies, data aggregation companies have been a popular thing we've seen a lot of lately. It's really broad.
Excellent. And the geographies that you focus on, I guess it's North America with the Econ acquisition a couple of years ago. That was also Europe, I guess. Anywhere else that you focus on?
Yeah, we focus on North America, Europe, and Asia. So it's pretty much everywhere. We do have customers in South America too, but it's just a handful. So most of our focus is North America and Europe. We have teams in Salt Lake, Montreal, Netherlands, and Belgium. We will be adding a team in Australia and or Asia by the end of the year. But that's our main focus.
Very cool. And what customer size do you focus on?
We really focus on the large to enterprise customer side. So it's generally customers we have a lot of global kind of multinational big companies with thousands or hundreds of thousands of employees. We have a lot of those, but we also do kind of medium to large customers as well. But our real focus is in that large enterprise side where there is a high degree of complexity and they need a solution that's extremely flexible to solve that.
And I mentioned in the introduction that you have around 200 employees right now. You're still hiring? I would think so, right? Especially if you want to build out your office in Australia. So, but tell us more about that. Where are you still hiring and how many employees do you want to get to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually started this year at about 190 and I'd have to update your number. We're actually up to 250 right now. Our plan for the year is to get to 300 by the end of the year, and we're still on track to do that.
Wow. And no challenges with hiring, finding the right talent. I saw that as an issue a little while ago where people were struggling to find the right people. So for you, it's not a challenge?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. We laid out a plan to do this, essentially grow from 190 to 300 people in October of last year. And after we finished it, we did look at ourselves and say, this will be hard to actually hire and onboard this many people that quickly. But it's really gone great. We do spend a ton of time on it. So we have a 250 person company. We have 6 people in our people ops division, which I think is a pretty high ratio. We spend a lot of money on that, both retaining our existing team and being a great place to work, as well as attracting really great people to join us. And we have really done well with it, I must say. So I do feel confident we will get to the 300 number by the end of the year.
Excellent. Right now, what I see in the market, Bill, is that the market conditions are a little bit softer, you could say, at least in parts, right? So and that's due to various issues, could be supply chain issues that are discussed right now that related to the Ukraine war, the general challenges with the economy right now and inflation and so on. Do you see any impact of that? And if so, do you see any impact by different regions?
Yeah, it's a great question. We think about this a lot. It's definitely front of my mind. Although, to be totally honest, we have not seen an impact yet. We just came off Q2 as one of the best sales quarters we've ever had and was really great. We did not see a big slowdown or a big pushback. When things like this happen and the economy slows down, for us, what it just really means is it starts off with people pushing back buying decisions, just saying we're not going to make these investments right now. And then ultimately it could lead to corporate decisions where there's just a corporate mandate to not make investments in systems. And that's where we would start to slow down on the sales front. We haven't seen that right now. I do fully expect that will happen over the next 6 to 12 months and that some people will slow down those purchasing decisions. For us, the good part is we're growing so fast. I think even a slowdown just means we grow more slowly. It doesn't mean we shrink as a company. So we still push forward with our hiring plans and everything else. And the second benefit we have is we really help our customers sell more and sell faster. So as there's a slowdown and they need to keep their own business up and their own revenue up, our solution is really what helps drive that. So I do think we're one of the last things to get pulled off that list as they're trying to drive their own revenue. And we'll see that mostly continue, but we're definitely keeping an eye on it.
Excellent. I'm looking at it too, so very interested to see how that developed. One thing I wanted to follow up on was the off-the-shelf integrations that you offer. I already mentioned Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, NetSuite. Are there any other integrations that you want to mention?
Yeah, so we do integrate. I think it's important to mention within Dynamics, we integrate with essentially the entire suite, which today is obviously focused on CE, F&O, and BC. So we integrate on the CRM side and the ERP side within Dynamics, which I think is a unique thing that we do and definitely something special about us. So we integrate with all 3 platforms there. And then we recently launched an integration with Microsoft's Commerce Solution to their web shop, which is really cool. And we're really excited about that one too. So that's in the Dynamics suite. We integrate with all 4, as well as the older Dynamics products too. and then Salesforce and NetSuite, as you mentioned, and then we integrate with some smaller kind of tangential things like portal companies. We integrate with a company called Dynamic Web, and some other kind of smaller things like that.
Novo CPQ Consulting helps you with all CPQ related questions. For example, we help customers to find the best CPQ solution for their business, and we help customers analyze their current business process to determine if and where CPQ can help. Here it's important to point out that we are 100% independent and always look out for our customers first. This means for us also that we don't get paid by any CPQ vendor for providing them new customers or for any other services. We are focused on our customers and always provide the best available information to them. We also help system integrators to improve their services, and we offer the only CPQ industry subscription that provides monthly CPQ news and trends. We have many other services, so check it out today at novocpq.com. Send me an email to frank.sohn@novocpq.com to learn how we can help you with your CPQ questions, and keep us in mind when you look for 100% impartial CPQ advice. And what are the top 3 business requirements that your customers mention to you?
Yeah, so the first is, I think the most important one for us too, and what we really focus on is that they want to be able to administer and support the solution with their business users. So they come to us with an extremely complex environment and product suite and everything that we need to handle, but they don't want to have to use coders and things to do that. So the number one business requirement I hear all the time from customers is we want to be able to manage this in our business teams. The second thing we hear a lot of, and I think this has grown more too, is we generally used to be a product that was used solely from, not solely, but most of the time from inside sales teams. And now we see where customers want to be able to configure and sell their products through a lot of different ways, dealerships or self-service from customers. And so we've seen a much more expansion into portals and e-commerce web shops, like I mentioned, with the Microsoft integration we just completed. We've seen a lot more of that. And then the last one would be the complexity of the configurations has definitely increased, especially as you move towards new use cases outside of manufacturing. And so we have seen that kind of balloon, and it becomes something where they're wanting to pull in data and calculations from all sorts of systems. It's not just a CRM configure quote price system. It's pulling in from a ERP system and pulling data into configurations and calculations. It's pulling in data from third-party systems that are out there too. And they really need all of that to kind of pull together into one central system. And it's a top requirement for sure.
And do you do all solution implementations yourself, or do you partner with system integrators?
Yeah, that's great. We do have our own team here for our services implementation side. That's probably a 65, 70 person team globally. So we do a lot of that work ourselves, but we do three different ways. We help out ourselves. We do our own work. Our customer team will do a lot. We'll train them and teach them how to do it. And then they will do a lot of the implementation themselves, which is really great for the long-term sustainability of the product too. It's not just, we don't just have a product you implement and then you're done with it. It really is a living, breathing thing that changes over the life of the customer. And then the last way would be that we do partner with SIs like you're talking about, and they'll do implementations for us as well. So we are not picky about which of those ways we do it. We'll do whatever way works best for the customer and the partner.
Excellent. So now I want to go back to something that I had mentioned a little bit as a side note, right? And that was the merger with Econ Solutions a little while ago. But that was a fairly big thing at the time, right? And I was just wondering, how has that merger developed? Are you ready to share a little bit about that? And is there still a difference between the two companies, or have they grown really into one unit now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think they have really grown into one unit now, which has been really cool. We certainly have a European team that has some differences from our North American team, but I think those differences today are very kind of cultural, geographical differences more than their, kind of company historical differences. So This is something I'd love to talk about. I've been through many of these mergers, especially mergers of competitors, and it's something I'm really passionate in. And so I think it's a little bit of a funny story, but we did the merger in February 2020. We went on site for the first week in Netherlands after the merger, and we go into the break room, and there's a giant mural on the wall of the Econ office building. It's the entire break room. It's a big soccer stadium, and there's two big soccer players. One is pushing the other one to the ground and going to score a goal. That one has an Econ jersey on, and then the guy on the ground has an Experlogix jersey on. So that's what we walked into. It was that kind of competitive environment. We really believe we were both the number one and number two players in the Microsoft Dynamics space for CPQ. So I love that stuff though. And I really think what was cool is despite that competitive history and tension prior to the deal, what ends up being the reality is you got a lot of really great people on both sides and really similar culture and approach to how we work with the people on our team, how we work with customers, what we're trying to do out there. And so the team really rallied around that, honestly, even better than I would have expected at the time. And we've really pushed through a lot, I think, over the last couple of years. And now it's, our teams in Europe and North America have both doubled with a lot of new people too. And we're all one team trying to do it together.
Excellent. Are the teams visiting each other right now, or you work mostly remotely together?
Yeah, it's switched. Even the people who are near an office don't go into the office 5 days a week anymore. I think that's going to be a tough sell for a lot of people forever, but we do try to get people who want to be in the office together more frequently and have days where we encourage everybody to try to come in. So even the local people work more remotely than we had in the past. But we do try to get the teams together fairly frequently. We've talked about trying to get a all company meeting together and get everybody globally together at one place, which has been thought of and canceled 3 times, I guess, at this point with all the different COVID swings. But we do plan on doing that at some point still. And so, yeah, we bring them together, and all new hires from all over the globe come together every month in what we call a base camp program, which gets everybody together through a training kind of introduction to the company, which is in person. And we do a lot of things like that to try to encourage people to travel and spend time face to face.
Very interesting. Now, let me follow up on one question, because you have a long-standing relationship with Microsoft, right? And are one of the major Microsoft players in the CPQ space for a long time as well. And hence you have a focus on MS Dynamics. Tell us more about that and why that is important for your customers.
Yeah, so that's really where we started from, was complete focus on Microsoft Dynamics. And as I mentioned, when we believe that Econ and Experlogix together, we're both number one and number two in that space. And when you put us together, we feel like we're really, really strong in that spot. So it's been a really great position. It's extremely important, I'll tell you. It's really just any connection and integration and knowledge of the CRM and ERP systems. As we're going through an implementation, there's just as many questions about the CPQ side of things that we're doing as there are about how it's set up in Dynamics or Salesforce, depending on what system we're working on. And so really understanding those systems is just so important. And especially in the dynamic space, I really feel like it's something that sets us apart. If we can get a meeting with somebody, a potential customer, and they can come in and meet our team and just learn how knowledgeable they are about both CPQ and Dynamics, we really win those deals at a high rate.
Excellent. And I think so. You had the 2 solutions. You had the Experlogix CPQ solution. You had the Econ solution. Now, my understanding was you wanted to release a new platform at one point, right? So, when will this platform become available, and what do you plan to pack in there?
Yeah, it's a little bit different than that. It's more iterative and evolutionary than that description, where it's kind of just one product that comes out as a totally new product. So, essentially, what we're doing is taking some functionality in the Econ solution that was really great, and we're bringing that into the Experlogix solution in different releases. And so we've already done some of that, and really, especially one thing that Econ did really well, they did a lot of things well, but the product had a really great integration layer, and I think it's really something that is super unique to us and what we do. And so we've brought that integration layer into the Experlogix core product already, and that was kind of the first step. And then there's some other pieces too that Econ had a proprietary portal that was really great, and kind of some other things that we're still working on and are the future roadmap to bring over. But essentially, we're going to bring some of that really great functionality over in pieces. as we move Experlogix forward.
Very good. Then let's look at a couple of the capabilities which are not necessarily core CPQ, obviously, but are very close to it, and see how important they are for you. I will just ask you for the capabilities, and if you could give me a 1 or 2 sentence answer, then we have a chance to go through a couple of these things. What do you think, for example, about visual and virtual capabilities?
I think this one's huge. This is completely active today. Almost every customer is asking about it, and it is definitely a super important requirement that I think we have a good solution today, and we continue to invest a lot in that going forward too.
So you have the proprietary solution, right? So
correct.
Yep. And then for artificial intelligence, machine learning, that's data analytics and stuff like that, these capabilities, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of a soapbox here for me, but I think a lot of people, when they talk about machine learning, probably aren't using that term exactly right. So what I definitely think is extremely active today for us and extremely important is intelligence, and maybe it's artificial intelligence. I think sometimes it's really just describing what software does, but we absolutely take a ton of intelligence and bring it right to the front of the sales process. So if you're configuring kitchen cabinets, you can say 70% of the customers have configured these in white and 20% in gray, and give that information right to a salesperson. That is configured by a person. Like, a person still decides what to show to the sales rep, but the system is calculating and bringing all that intelligence in automatically. And that's huge, and that happens obviously all the time right now. As far as machine learning, today we don't really see that as something that's demanded as much as talked about, but we definitely think about it long-term roadmap. And for us, that really becomes a lot of partnering with how Microsoft and Salesforce handle that too, because we're so tightly integrated with them. They'll have some of their own functionality, and it's kind of figuring out exactly where we fit into that as that becomes a bigger thing going forward.
And then you also hear more about the pricing requirements, right? So that's price management, price optimization, rebate management, and other things. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is huge. We're definitely is a major requirement today, and something we spend a lot of time on is really making sure you can get the pricing right and bring all that information forward. So that is definitely a big one.
And the last one I want to mention here is the Internet of Things. What do you see concerning that?
Yeah, we actually haven't seen implementations of this yet, although it will be really cool. What's cool for us is if an Internet of Things device pulls data back to a CRM or an ERP system, then we can use that data in the configuration. I'm sure there will be cool use cases of that in the future. We haven't really seen those implemented yet, but as that keeps growing, I'm sure that will become something down the road.
And then let's get a little bit closer to where we are right now, right? So when you look at the next 12 months and the roadmap that you're going to present your customer, what do you think? Can you provide us a quick outlook on what are some exciting capabilities you expect to be able to offer your customers over that time frame?
Yeah, things we're working on the next 12 months. So it's really going to be continued focus on our integration framework, and we are so seamlessly integrated between CRM systems and the ERP systems that we're continuing to make a ton of advances on that, where we can essentially, what we can do now is we can automatically read to or write from any field in a CRM or an ERP system completely out of the box, which I think is extremely unique for us and is super powerful for customers as they're coming up with interesting use cases. So that's something we're continuing to develop and work on a lot more. We just launched this commerce connection, and we're going to continue to do other things here. As I mentioned, this is a trend in the industry is to have more portal, more eShop opportunities. And so we will definitely continue to work on integrations, deeper integrations with commerce, as well as integrations with other things that can provide similar types of services.
And where do you expect the CPQ market to go in general in the next 12 months?
Yeah, I don't expect it to slow down or change dramatically, other than what I mentioned earlier with kind of the potential for an industry slowdown, maybe pushing off some buying decisions. But I really do feel that the path we're on right now, there's still a ton of room out there in the market to do very similar things. We still complete a ton with spreadsheets. We still compete with old legacy systems that are being replaced. And I see that path continuing for the next few years.
And are there any industry events where interested customers can see you in your solution sometime in the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at most of the Microsoft events, and we'll do the virtual events now, and are picking up in-person events again here soon too. And then we're starting to join Salesforce events too as that kind of picks back up. So I'd say certainly the big national ones, we're at all of those, and then some of the smaller regional ones, I'd say we're at a pretty good share of those too.
Excellent. Now, last question from my side is, what's a good way for interested listeners to contact you in case they have any follow-up questions for you or your team?
Yeah, so generally on the team, definitely go to experlogix.com, and you can contact us and just reach out to us through that form. And for me personally, my email address is pretty simple. It's bfox@experlogix.com, and definitely love to hear from anybody.
Perfect. We will have all that information in the show notes. Bill, thank you very much for making time for the CPQ podcast today.
Thanks, Frank. This is great.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novocpq.com. So long, everyone.